Hi guys, I'm Elett. I'm going to be discussing my stance on being a Jamaican woman someone from Jamaican descent in Britain in this day and age. I'm going to start off with my primer. I'm using the YSL Touche Eclat Blur primer, and all I know is it's really glittery and it really helps for like oily skin. I chose to talk about something that I'm currently quite passionate about because it comes from an authentic place. Like, a lot of the things that I speak on, it just comes from a perspective and somebody's asked me about it. But with this, it's come from finding myself, especially as I moved from a place where there's predominantly a lot of Jamaicans to London where it's very multicultural, and I wasn't so used to that. And what I thought was the norm isn't here. And that's when I found more about myself when I came out of that environment. So I'm gonna use like a stick foundation routine. It's like a casual one for me, but it's actually really good. So I'm gonna go for the Anastasia Beverly Hills stick foundation in, Chestnut, which is a little bit light for me. So I usually apply this one first, in a very unfashioned motion. And then the Makeup Revolution one in F16, which is like my shade, but the undertone's a little bit off, which is currently running out. So I mix those two together. Like I said, when I moved from Birmingham, where 99.9% of black people there were Jamaican, I didn't know very much about my culture. I know that sounds strange, but I just knew that I'd grown up in my household. My mum had brought me up the way that she did, and my dad, his morals were very much based upon where he came from too. And it's not until I gained friends from all different types of backgrounds that I started to notice things about mine that shaped who I was. People try to erase Jamaican culture in the media quite a lot, and the reasons why the way we are has a lot to do with where we come from, and mostly how people speak on Jamaican culture. I think that is the most frustrating thing. Like, I'm very aware of the fact that they are infamous for being a very homophobic place within the Caribbean, and up until very recently, probably still is, it's actually illegal to be gay there or have another sexual orientation besides the norm, or what people like to put other people in boxes are being the norm. And I think people like to focus on most things a lot when it comes to Jamaica. They won't mention that Jamie Oliver made a rice dish called jerk rice, although as a non-Caribbean person, he couldn't have possibly made jerk rice because he's not from the Caribbean, as far as I'm concerned. And then looking at those things and the reaction to it, then that helped me decipher that I don't eat from places like Turtle Bay by standard, because I'm not eating Caribbean food from people that aren't Caribbean. It's really as simple as that. Next, we're going to be applying concealer, and I'm going to use my favourite one in life, which is the MAC Studio Fix 24 Hour. And as well as that, I like to mix concealers because some of them are a little bit cool and a little bit too bright. So I'm using the e.l.f. 16 Hour Camo Concealer. Yeah, like as I was saying, the reaction to people sort of culture appropriating Jamaican culture through food, music, language, sometimes even the way they dress, sort of sparked a positive reaction in myself. I wasn't necessarily angry at the fact that people liked certain bits of my culture and were trying to profit off it at first. I wasn't angry at first. I just sort of looked at how I went about representing my culture and how I consumed it in the media and in food, music, etc. So, like I said, I don't eat from places like Turtle Bay by default. If I do want Caribbean food, I either make it myself or I go to a Caribbean shop. Like, I think it's just an easier way. And the people who deserve money for that are the people who originally made it, are the people who have had those recipes passed down to them through like generations of their families, their friends, so on, so on. So I do take it quite literally. I don't believe in, I think it's very interesting that we are quick to call out culture appropriation when it comes to like white girls wearing braids, etc. None of which even matter to me as a black woman. But when it really comes down to people's values and where they come from, and even things down to their food, like nobody has anything to say about it, especially when it comes from like Jamaican culture. People are very selective in what they want to talk about or what they want to be outraged by. Next, I'm going to do my eyeshadow. This is the Morphe 33M Boss Mood. I only chose it because of that lime green in it, and it was like the colour of the moment, but it's actually a really good palette, I won't lie. Like I said, becoming more familiar with myself through not wanting people to tell me who I am also made me more familiar with the fact that a lot of my friends don't always just come from a background that is Jamaican. So I have friends who are very much part Chinese. A lot of us are Jamaican, Indian or Coolie, which is a whole nother conversation of whether we should even use the word Coolie. But like it made me more familiar with like my Guyanese background and where they come from, because they also, a lot of them do derive from Africans, but a lot of them are like Brazilian, Argentinian, etc. because it is in South America. Like everybody knows that a lot of Australian people, like their heritage was in England and Ireland, and a lot of their families emigrated down to Australia, but you'd never really hear people telling Australian people that they're originally English and that they should respect that. We only ever find that people say that to Jamaicans because it's like they want to erase their culture, and basically it's like a power thing, it's like an ownership thing, like you're not so great, you know, you are African anyway. And at first it's like I didn't know whether to be offended by it, because I didn't want to make it seem like I was anti their culture or anti them. But at the same time, what person doesn't want to be recognised for who they are, where they come from? So it's now got to the point where it's like I'm having to educate each person who say that to me, which is very exhausting, that, you know, not all Caribbean people are from Africa, and I understand my background. And we are South American and Indian. We just happen to be in Jamaica because we emigrated there for work. Well, my ancestors did. So it's kind of, it's draining having that conversation over and over again. And it's draining becoming more aware of how people represent Jamaican culture through the media. It just doesn't sit well with me a lot of the time. But it makes me more appreciative that we are so influential. Okay, yeah, so I'm finishing up with this Urban Decay blusher. I'm not actually sure what this is called, but it's really cute. It's like doubles as a highlighter as well. It's very pigmented, so I do have to like brush it off and rub it in and all that jazz, but it is really, really good. Like people ask, like, do you think you're carrying the weight of like the representation of black women? And I don't think I do, because I don't think this is a Makeup Revolution highlighter that's not very good. Okay, I'm gonna finish up by using Makeup Revolution Sports Fix. Like I said, I'm very oily, so I kind of need my makeup to stay here and not on my neck. And powdery. Such a satisfying feeling. But yeah, I feel like the best thing to do as a young person, like pre-Brexit, and knowing that we do live in such a multicultural environment, like at all times, is to understand where you come from and also be very respectful of where other people come from as well. And do your education. If they're telling you something about their culture or their background or how they were brought up personally, do try to go in with an unbiased, open mind and just listen to them and be very respectful of that. Because I've learned so much, like whilst moving to London, about people who are black but don't come from the Caribbean. And before I came here, like I'd never really met a Greek person, and now my best friend's Greek and I know so much about her culture. So, and I think you know, when they say like traveling opens the mind, you don't even necessarily need to travel to learn about other people's culture. The main message is to know where you come from and respect where other people come from. My lip combo is a very dark lip pencil because we're going for like a 90s look. MAC Naturally Transformed, which is what I call a white girl nude, and I only use white girl nudes because they look the best. That sounds very weird, doesn't it? But yeah, I like a nude and not a peachy nude. I don't know, but they're not black girl friendly, so you have to make them black girl friendly with the dark lip liner and some gloss. So I blend that in. To give it like an ombre effect, and then I use a nude lip gloss on top, and I only use Kiko lip glosses because they're like a MAC standard for literally half the price. MAC ones are like 14 to 16, and these are 7, and they are the best lip glosses. They're called like 3D Hydra Gloss, and there's like a million different shades and colors. But yeah. It's been great doing my makeup on camera again. I missed this. And that is the finished look.